The Girl in the Mirror. A story you were never meant to know. When we arrived at the house, the first thing I felt was a slight shiver running down my spine. It was as if the air inside those walls had a different weight, something I hadn't noticed during any of our previous visits. My wife was thrilled. She couldn't stop talking about the decor and the plans for the garden, while our two kids ran down the upstairs hallway choosing their rooms. I tried to ignore that oppressive feeling, chalking it up to the exhaustion from the move. The house was old but well-preserved. It had those classic architectural details my wife adored. Ornate moldings on the ceilings, creaky wooden stairs, and large windows. In the main hallway there was a large mirror with a carved wooden frame that gave it an antique look. It was a beautiful piece, but something about it made me uncomfortable. Every time I passed by it, I felt as if my reflection was watching me too intently, as if I were an intruder. The first night went by relatively quietly. We were busy unpacking boxes and arranging things, and when we finally went to bed, exhaustion quickly overcame me. It was around 3 in the morning when something woke me up. At first, I didn't know what it was. I heard a soft noise, like the creaking of wood, followed by a faint whisper that sent chills down my spine. I got up and walked into the hallway. It was dark, but moonlight filtered through the windows, illuminating the mirror at the end of the corridor. I approached it cautiously, feeling an inexplicable tension. That's when I saw her for the first time. A girl with long dark hair, dressed in a white nightgown. She was standing on the other side of the mirror staring at me. My heart stopped for a moment. "Hello?" I said softly, my throat dry. My reflection was still there, but so was she, right behind me, in the glass. I quickly turned around, but the hallway was empty. When I looked back at the mirror, she was gone. I tried convincing myself it was a dream, a hallucination brought on by exhaustion, but that image stayed burned in my mind. Over the next few days, I started noticing strange things. The lights flickered for no reason, the floors creaked in empty rooms, and my kids said they heard faint laughter when playing near the mirror. My wife didn't notice anything or perhaps chose to ignore it. I, on the other hand, couldn't stop watching that mirror every time I passed it, waiting to see the girl again. One night, while I was reading in the living room, I heard footsteps upstairs. I thought it was one of the kids, so I went up to take them back to bed. When I reached the hallway, I saw them. 2 small, bare feet sticking out from the bottom of the mirror's frame. They moved backward, sliding into the darkness within the glass. A cold sweat broke out over my body. Curiosity and fear consumed me. I approached the mirror, carefully running my fingers across the surface. The glass was colder than usual. A soft, trembling voice escaped my lips before I could stop it. "Who are you?" The reflection showed a fleeting shadow that slid into a dark corner of the glass. Then I heard a laugh, low and restrained, as if it was being deliberately muted. I stumbled back, hitting the wall. That night I couldn't sleep. I decided to research the house. I discovered it had belonged to several families over the decades, but there always seemed to be periods when it was left vacant. No one stayed for long. The most disturbing thing I found was an old newspaper article about a girl named Clara. She had mysteriously disappeared in that house nearly 100 years ago. The description matched perfectly. Dark hair, white nightgown. Part of me wanted to believe it was a coincidence, but the knot in my stomach told me otherwise. A week later, things got worse. The mirrors throughout the house began to show things that weren't there. Water stains spreading like long fingers, shadows moving even though the room was still. My kids refused to go near the hallway mirror, saying Clara looked at them with sadness. My wife started noticing it too. One night, she confessed that she had felt a cold hand brush hers while she was alone in the bathroom. I decided to cover the hallway mirror with a sheet. It was a desperate attempt to regain some normalcy, but that same night the sheet was on the floor, and the mirror showed small handprints on the glass. Something was wrong, terribly wrong, and I knew it. The night everything changed, I woke to the sound of my youngest daughter crying. I ran to her room and found her huddled in a corner, trembling. She told me Clara wanted to play with her, but that she was too lonely and sad. I tried to calm her, but my hands were shaking as much as hers. I decided to confront the mirror once more. That night, I stood in front of it. The house was completely silent, and the air felt heavy, as if something invisible was surrounding me. I took a deep breath and said, "What do you want from us?" The mirror didn't respond, but then, slowly, the surface began to darken, as if a black liquid was spreading from within. Clara's figure appeared again, but this time she wasn't alone. There were other shadows, blurry, standing behind her. Her face was expressionless, but her eyes glowed with an intensity that made me step back. I reached out as if I could penetrate the glass, and at that moment everything changed. The mirror vibrated violently, and an invisible force pulled me toward it. I felt an icy chill envelop me as my vision darkened. When clarity returned, I was no longer in the hallway, I was inside the mirror. The room in front of me was the same, but it looked distorted, as if I were viewing it through fogged glass. Clara stood beside me, holding my hand. Her skin was cold, and her gaze empty. "Now you understand," she said, her voice echoing deeply. Then I saw it. My reflection was still on the other side, but it wasn't me anymore. It was a darker, twisted version, with a smile that didn't belong to me. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. Clara turned to me and whispered, "We always need someone else here. Now you can stay with us." As the mirror's world closed around me, I understood the truth. There was no way out. And outside, in the house, my reflection would live my life, just as it had done with others before me. No one would notice the difference. And now, from here, I watch my family, happy and unaware. I see my wife and children pass by the mirror, not knowing that the man watching them from the other side is no longer me.